Okay, so this is recording. Let's just go ahead and get started. Welcome. I believe this is week 15, 16 of the Manager's Review podcast. I mean, a lot has happened. I took a little hiatus while, the All-Star break happened. I figured those festivities, if anybody was really dying, they've got 2 hours of content. So I took a week off. But a bunch of exciting stuff has happened since then. Some people have lost, some people have won, some trades have been made. There's a couple other things I wanted to go over. But yeah, first things first, there have been some major injuries, and I want to talk about setting up your roster for success in the playoffs, what that looks like. And anticipation. Anticipation has already helped me. And I'll explain a little bit of what I mean by that. So, we're not going to look at Savant right now. But I was looking at my roster a week ago, and this was my thought process. Okay, I'm about to go into the playoffs. I need to make sure that every position is filled as well as it possibly can be. So I was looking, I'm like, okay, if a guy gets hurt, where am I screwed the most? And I went, first base, okay, I've got 2 guys that cover there. Catcher, that would suck. Basayo did get hurt. There were a couple waiver wire options. I didn't feel like that it was the worst thing ever. They weren't that much worse than him. Okay, outfield. Okay, I can cover that. But there might be some holes, Outfield was where my team was all gelling together. I had players with multiple eligibilities who all played outfield. And so I was mixing and matching to get the best in. If one of them were to go down, maybe something bad happens. Third base, not a problem. I've got multiple. Shortstop, not a problem. I've got multiple. Bichette, Machado, Lindor. One of them goes down, one of the other ones will fill that hole, right? If 2 of them go down, we got problems, but that's probably not going to happen. Starting pitcher. Okay, I'm sitting a starting pitcher right now, and I'm rostering an extra one. If one gets hurt, it's really not the end of the world. It would suck, but it's really not the end of the world. There are waiver options right now, and we'll talk about them later. But so I was like, okay, outfield is really where I'm lacking, and what tipped me off to maybe I should try and get an outfielder is the fact that Juan Soto had sort of sucked. He'd been doing really bad, and it kind of made me raise an eyebrow because he's been injured off and on. And sure enough, I started talking to some people for some trades, maybe a starting pitcher for a third baseman. Well, Juan Soto goes down. Okay, it's time to get an outfielder. And I made a move with Gray. I traded Machado for Kyle Tucker and Cater Montero. Now, let's look at Kyle Tucker. This is how I sort of evaluated this trade. He's first rounder this year. Obviously, he hasn't played up to that. He's only averaging 2.6 points per game. Now, I looked at this, and I went, even in 2025, he wasn't that great. But, okay, his bat speed is down a whole mile an hour. And what does that result in? Okay, well, all of his other stats look like they suck. But I noticed this. Okay, over the last month, he sort of turned it on a little bit. So to me, this matters a little bit more than the whole season numbers at this point. This is the thing about reading savants right now. I look at this rolling xWOBA chart more than anything in July going into August because it tells you a lot more than this. You can't stretch all these stats out over the whole season on Savant. And things get really hard and tricky. And, I was looking at other parts of his profile. Okay, he's still pulling the ball in the air just fine. So to me, this sort of told me, okay, well, there's a chance Kyle Tucker is sort of turning it back on. So I went ahead and made a move for him. Now, Machado has been great recently. He's really been awesome. So, but I can plug that hole with Bichette, who nobody seems to want. He's sort of gone back to sucking. But he had a stretch in the middle where he was good. I'm wish casting that maybe he can turn that on again. I don't know if he will, but we'll see. Now, another position that I've noticed I've been sort of having trouble with is Kyle Schwarber. He's really not been good in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I've got other options at DH. DH is not a hard position to fill. I didn't worry about it. But this is the kind of thing that you should be looking at in your roster. And probably the last thing you should care about is relievers. Unless, you're like Connor and you've got three studs who are all like top 20 relievers, you really shouldn't care about that position too much. It's not going to matter. But that's kind of what I was going. Okay, you know, hope for the best, expect the worst is kind of the MO right now. And so I traded for Kyle Tucker. Soto went on the IL. He doesn't really have a timetable for return. He might not be ready for the playoffs, for our playoffs. I think probably September 1st is the probable timeline right now. And he gets one setback or things don't quite go right, he's not going to make it back. So I went ahead and traded for Kyle Tucker, who's a guy who I think has loads of upside, who's sort of being underappreciated, and who looks like he's turned it on recently, in the hopes that A, this will plug this hole, but B, if Soto comes back, I'll have the best outfield in the league. Hopefully. Now, this other thing. Okay, well, the playoffs haven't started yet. Can I still build for the playoffs? I've heard a lot of people, hey, what if I trade for Aaron Judge? Well, I don't think Ryan's going to do that. He's held him for long enough. He probably would have done it earlier if he was going to trade Judge. But now Juan Soto's in the IL. Well, let's say Matthew comes knocking on my door and he offers me Jacob Mizorowski for Juan Soto. I don't know. I don't think Matthew would do that because his outfield is insanely studly. But I would have to think about that. Soto's healthy, that's a no-go for me every day of the week. But Soto doesn't have a real clear timetable for return. And even if he did, let's say it was September 6th. That's a week into our playoffs. First round, I busted out second round or something last year. My team just had a down week. If that happens again, then, hey, well, I'd much rather have Mizorowski than Soto, who's going to come in maybe halfway through that week or something. These are all the kind of things you should be thinking out when trying to build a playoff roster. Give value now for value later. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. But, yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts on how I think you should think about roster construction. Wow, has a tick on me. Fucking unbelievable. But where am I really going to be dead if somebody gets hurt? Like, I don't know. If I'm Matthew, let's just look at some rosters here. Let's just go ahead and look at some rosters and see, like, maybe if I can identify, maybe that's what we'll do this episode. Because as far as the matchup goes, Ryan's been getting unlucky. Matthew's lost a couple weeks. Things are happening. Julie's team had a good bounce back. Owen's pitching continues to stink. I mean, just lots of stuff. Chris is sort of tapped out. But let's go ahead and look at a roster. Okay, I'm Chris. Am I in the playoffs right now? How do I even see that? Sorry, guys. I do not use the app very much. But, okay. So, Chris is on the cusp of making the playoffs. But let's look at Owen. Because, between him and Julie, there's some real contention here. So, I'm looking. Okay, so we got 2 shortstops. That's good. We've got 4 outfielders. That's good. We've got 3 DHs. That's good. We only got 1 catcher. We actually have 4 outfielders, or 5 outfielders, Okay, well, we've got 2 second basemen. And we really only have, I don't know. Owen's roster flexibility here is great. So, well, that tells me, okay, here's our excess value. Okay, our lineup is rock solid. None of these guys, as far as the outfield goes, I'm not dying to play any of these dudes, but they're better than the waiver wire for the most part. There's a couple guys we'll talk about later, but so I'm looking at the pitching. Okay, Zach Thornton, hey, good pickup. I don't remember when that was, but okay, pitching. Skubal, Fried, both guys who have had injury problems this year. Kyle Harrison's on the IL. No timeline for return, really, right? Okay, yeah. Okay. Honestly, Owen's roster's in a pretty good spot. If he loses a second baseman, things might get a little suspect if Dubon or Rise go down. Um, we got to plug Murakami into third base and then Rise into first. And then Martinez has to go to second. And then, that's the only thing I'm thinking, we really are going to have to work on that. But there's plenty of second basemen out there who you could go and get. We also have Nico Horner. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Not a huge problem. As long as Contreras is healthy, we really don't have a problem lineup-wise. But let's look at somebody else. Let's look at Sam. Okay, this is a lineup I think I can definitely sort of tear in. Okay, if we lose Ketel Marte, who definitely has injury problems, we're running Nick Gonzalez at second base. I don't feel good about that at all. Not in the slightest. So I'm not saying go out and get a second baseman, but just go ahead and be preemptively thinking about, okay, this is a positional weakness. He's an injury-prone player, and he's really my only guy I think I want to play here. Nick Gonzalez hasn't done bad, but do I really want to run him as my starting second baseman? No. Outfield we have covered. DH we have covered. Third base, another very sus position, especially if Curtis Mead is down. If Curtis Mead goes down, we're going to be running Nick Gonzalez permanently in our lineup. I don't know, Sam. I think another hitter could do you good. I like running with two bench hitters. I know Sam likes running with more pitchers, but that's personal preference at this point. I think you can make up. So I'll just say what I think about this. I like running an extra bench bat as opposed to only one bench bat because I think you can actually make up an entire start with that sort of flexibility. Games get postponed. Dudes get sat. One dude hits a home run, a double. Next thing you know, you've got 7.5 points. And, I mean, that's half of your best hope for a streamer. And with none of the real downside risk of running a streamer. So I tend to run an extra hitter. Plus, I don't like sitting multiple pitchers. I don't like making that struggle. You make a bad, and it sort of clouds your judgment, right? Because you make a bad streaming decision, even if on paper it's the right one, and it just totally ruins your week. And if you'd had a hitter, that hole would have been a lot less obvious if a hitter has a bad week or a couple bad games, and it's not nearly going to hurt you as much. So that's my reasoning for running an extra hitter. So, I mean, I would recommend that for Sam, especially with some of these dudes who are sitting on the back end of your bench. But I don't know. As far as starting pitching goes, we are loaded up. I mean, these dudes are going to be back at some point, hopefully. And then we won't have to worry about really losing. You're poised to have a fine rotation even if somebody gets injured. Now, as far as how actually good these guys are, especially I'm looking at you, Jose Soriano. He's had a rough couple of months, but that's up for Sam's discretion to try to improve his pitching staff through a trade if he wants. But this is another thing, man. Pitcher for pitcher is hard. Hitter for hitters can be hard unless it's a positional thing. And trading hitting capital from Sam's perspective is really not an option. Really not an option. I mean, let's look at Ryan. He's had a couple rough weeks, and if I'm Ryan, I just have to try and shake that off. But we are more than okay at first. We're doing just fine at outfield. Okay, shortstop is absolutely the stopgap. If McGonigal gets hurt, we're looking at the waiver wire. And for shortstop, that's not a place you want to be. So if I'm Ryan, in the back of my mind, I'm trying to find out who's got surplus at shortstop and just keep that in my back pocket. And looking at where I've got Carson Bench. I like Carson Bench, but Judge is going to come back. Anthony maybe is going to come back. I'm more than happy to trade Bench. This 2.3 points a game is a little misleading. Let's see what he looks like. But trading him for a low caliber shortstop, some guy like Colson Montgomery or something. This looks great. For a waiver wire guy, this is exactly what you want to see. Is he pulling the ball? No. And that's his main problem, I guess. He doesn't have any pull side home runs, really. But this is more than sufficient as far as a back end outfielder. So, hey, maybe I look for somebody who's a little weak at outfield, try to get another shortstop, and then my positional woes are sort of remedied, assuming that one of Judge or Roman Anthony are coming back before our playoffs start, which it seems like they are going to. Soon on that. And then on the pitching side, we're good. We had a lot of back-end guys who are solid. Troy Melton, Logan Henderson, Trey Savage. And then we got a couple of aces who need to shape up. Hunter Brown, Evaldi, Zach Wheeler, all have been sort of stinking it up recently. But, yeah. As far as the rest of the folks go, we've already got some people who are out of the playoffs. Looking at you, Jack. But, yeah, what do you do when you're out of the playoffs? Well, try not to come in last. And that is honestly, if you're trying not to come in last, all you need to do is log in. Log into the app and maybe ask a few questions. But we've got a couple of people here like Gray and Connor who are not totally out of the picture. Now, if I'm them, what am I trying to do? If I have a 13% chance of making the playoffs, I still want to try my hardest. What am I doing? I am selling off as many starting pitchers as I can for solid positional guys. That's what I'm doing. Because that's the only way you win. Right? Pitchers are inherently risky. So you trade the inherently less risky asset for as much value in the lineup as you can. Right? If I'm Gray, I'm going to Owen. Hey, will you give me Wilson Contreras for Jacob deGrom? Screw it. Maybe Jacob deGrom and Reed Detmers. You just got to go crazy. You just have to go absolutely nuts because, pitchers are not, in fantasy, I don't think pitchers are going to win you anything. It's hitters who are the ones who have high ceilings. And pitchers have low floors. Pitchers have weaker ceilings and low floors. And they're not it. They're not it in the state that the game is right now. And with all this surplus pitching, I need to be making moves. Now, I was pushing Gray pretty hard to buy a pitcher off of him because I had some surpluses in my lineups, and he didn't want to do it. But I think that's sort of the wrong approach. Same with Connor. Now, Connor's in a bit of a different spot. His lineup is good. His lineup's pretty good. But his pitching's sort of sus. So, I would be trading Garrett Cole. I'd be knocking on Julie's door. Hey, what will you give me for Garrett Cole? Chris Sale. Anybody. Maybe Chris. I know Chris has a lot of pitching, but or Matthew. What will you give me for Chris Sale? Will you give me Byron Buxton for Chris Sale? That is a trade if I'm in Connor's position I'm taking. And then I'm sitting Braden Montgomery, who has still been pretty good for a waiver wire guy. What's his page looking like? It looks like trash. Wow. Yeah, I'd get rid of this guy. He's fast, so maybe that's something. And his plate approach is not the worst thing ever. But, and of course, small sample size here. But this is something that we're this late in the season. I'm not going to count on him. I'm no longer holding lottery tickets like this unless there's some on pages still look good. Like the few ones that I am holding look amazing. I love this look for Bryce Eldridge. He hits the ball so insanely hard. Cags. Looks great. Now this is funny because he sucked recently. which is not great. I'm sort of sitting him right now until he decides that he wants to go off like he did for like 2 weeks in June. But these guys are lottery tickets, and unless their savant page looks like this, I don't really want to have anything to do with them. Same with a guy like Travis Bazzana. I'm not a Travis Bazzana fan. This gives me nothing to get excited about. 77th percentile sprint speed. With stuff like this, only redeeming thing is that he walks. Only redeeming thing. I don't like him. Not my type of guy. I would get rid of him. I would try to trade him for maybe a position that I need more. Start a starting pitcher or something. Even a back end guy. Some guy like Cater Montero who's averaging 12 points per game who might be just solid. Who might continue to just be fine. But like, yeah, like if you've got, try to even out your excesses as much as you can. I mean, Andrew Vaughn, I don't know. Ryan O'Hearn's been awesome. Hell, I'd still sell high on Ryan O'Hearn right now. I don't know of anybody off the top of my head who has first base troubles, but he's in another hot stretch. Trade him. Get risky. He's a guy who over and over has always been just fine, and this has been a career year. Even if a guy's having a career year, he can still slump. He can still go back to being that guy. I absolutely, and maybe this is just me, but I absolutely still stick to my preseason rankings, even this late in the season, because it just means more. It just means more than this season so far. Unless somebody's been dealing with injuries, like Kyle Tucker. His entire career, pretty much, besides a decent amount of last year, he was awesome. Why would I bet against that? I can't see a reason why. So, buy low ideas still apply, in my opinion, here. And take risks. If you're out of the playoffs right now, or it seems like you're out of the playoffs, you have to take risks. Go buy those injury-prone guys and pray that they pop off, because that's how you're going to make a miracle comeback. So those are some of my thoughts on how you can really try to make a run. I guess I'll look at Julie's team, because I think he's one of the only teams I haven't looked at here as far as how I think they could prepare their team or what they should be thinking about. Obviously, catcher's a problem. I've already spoke my piece on Travis Bazzana. CJ Abrams is awesome. His outfield's looking fine. Okay, so see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Julie made a good trade where, Jack and Julie traded a bunch of fat on their bench, and basically the prize was Michael Harris, and that really helps Julie. I don't really remember what Jack got back, but I wasn't necessarily impressed by the package. And also first base. If Jake Bowers goes down and you have to plug Stowers in there, well, now we're running Luis Robert, and unless he gets going, there's nothing going on. And oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Wow, the past 3 weeks have been brutal for Julie. Young, Langoliers, Bellinger, all on the IL. That's no good. That's really terrible. So honestly, if I'm in Julie, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is garbage. I need to do something with my team right now. And what are your trade chips? Well, Julie's not going to want to hear this, but it's Cam Schlittler. I love trading rookie pitchers. They're my favorite thing to get rid of. I traded Parker Messick. I guessed wrong. Braxton Ashcraft has sort of looked bad lately. And Messick has looked like Messick. Cade Cavalli, a guy I think who has tons of upside. He's a pitcher. And he's got like 2 good pitches, and if he doesn't have them, he really struggles. But he's getting a lot of buzz. People are talking about him. Mason Miller, how much impact is he really going to have as a reliever? I think a starter like Shota Imanaga has more upside than Mason Miller. I mean, that seems sort of crazy to say, and maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe I'm wrong. But I like Luke Weaver. Noah Schultz. Noah Schultz. What a bust so far, man. I feel bad because there was a real waiver wire scramble, and his Savant page looks like this in the going into August. Oh yeah. I still have hope for this guy. This dude's a buyback on next year, late round hope. And there's a lot of guys like that. You know, Connor Prelip, Cam Smith. There's a ton of guys I can think of who this year have been sort of busts, but who I think have good upside that I'm going to want to buy in on them late rounds next year. If you could trade those kind of guys now, I would. But they're going to be to a guy like me, and I don't want any of these dudes right now. Imai, another guy like I think you just have to stick with. But he sucked. He sucked. He's so bad. I mean, and I mean the upside is staring at you right in the face, but so is the downside. I mean, I have never seen a more polarizing Savant page than the one I'm looking at right now. And overall, it hates him. It doesn't like him. But this is upside. You have to hold on to him. He's a lottery ticket. This is the kind of dude who is absolutely a lottery ticket. And, you know, he's probably going to fuck you. Honestly, Julie is in the playoffs enough that maybe he's not worth holding. Maybe he's worth trading to Gray or Connor because he is a lottery ticket. And he's useful on their team, and he's not nearly as useful for you because he can wreck your week, and the next thing you know, you're not in the playoffs. But hey, that's sort of my thoughts. Oz and Brooks, I mean, it's the same type of deal, you know. Just look at your roster, see where you got problems. I'll let you guys do that on your own. Morial disasters. But, like, if I'm Brooks, I am shopping Cal Raleigh. I am shopping Ivan Herrera. Hey, come knock on my door. I'll buy Cal Raleigh. I mean, screw it. Maybe not, man. This is terrible. Maybe not. I don't know. Ugh. You know, he's a guy who's had injury problems. He's had injury problems. He's never been the just absolute legend. His bat speed is down slightly. Half a mile an hour. Oh, that's terrible. Maybe trade Ivan Herrera. I don't know who's going to buy Ivan Herrera. He's better in our league. He's bad in standard ESPN, which is where I had him. But, yeah. I mean, Carpenter, first things first, we got to do management here. But, yeah, log in. Please, guys, log in. Anyways, let's take a look at the waiver wire. So, as far as hitters, again, I pointed out Marcus Semien. He's been a bit of a cold stretch there, but he was hot for a while. If you've got a positional hole, like a real big positional hole somewhere, like Julie's got at second base, guy's hot, put him in. I don't care. Guy's hot, put him in. Arenado starts hitting well, I don't care. Ty France, he's first base. He was hitting well a couple weeks ago. Put him in. I don't know. Just try to pay attention. Jackson Holiday's on the waiver wire. Let's see Nunez. If you need a catcher, Francisco Alvarez is good. Where is the man? Where is the man that I want? Alberto Hernandez. This man. If you need an outfielder, now he strikes out a decent amount, which is going to cap his upside in our league. But I see this. Hey, whoa. I mean, this is sexy. On a bad Marlins team, too. This is a sexy-ass Savant page. So I think somebody should add him. You know, I just traded for Kyle Tucker, so I won't be adding him. But, if I was probably smart, I would have added him instead of Tristan Peters and not traded for Tucker. But I still like the line I took. We'll see if it's any good or if it works out. I should say. We're all about process here, folks. But this guy is the biggest standout, I think, as far as who on the waiver wire as far hitters go. Hitters, it's very tough. Christian Encarnacion Strand has really been going crazy recently. Wow. Now he's got sort of the same problem. This in the minors, he struck out way more than this. I wouldn't trust this number, but this guy's all power. Never walks, and he's just now finally has a league average xWOBA. But this is impressive. This is another guy that if he turns it on and he goes on a run, you're looking at the next Esmeralda Valdez maybe. So I don't hate speculating on him if somebody wants to, but he's not a guy that I'm jumping out of my chair to get, quite like Roberto Hernandez. Dylan Cruz has done some things recently. Yeah, he's had a pretty good stretch here, starting from the 17th. He's hit a couple home runs, batting for average now. I'm always in on these post-type sleeper dudes. I'm sure Savant Page probably looks like Dookie because he's a guy who outperforms his numbers with speed. Yeah, it does. He's definitely more of a Trey Turner type guy. But his bat speed's fine, And with a guy with power who hits the ball even decently hard like this, I'm never totally 100% out on him. So another guy to just keep an eye on. Of course, you got your platoon dudes like Luke Raley. Always just watch the matchups. Yeah, I think that's it for my Nick Fortes. What's he doing? He's not playing enough for it to really matter. But just curious. At least he's got a good plate approach. This is looking a little bit better than Cal Raleigh right now. Hate to say it, but let's take a look at our pitchers. Where's the schedule view? I'm sorry, guys. I do not know how to do this on. Do not know how to do this on the regular app. Aha. No, man, that's not it. Schedule. Oh, okay. Probable starters, all. Okay, first things first. The waiver wire is rather bad, so we're looking at matchups primarily. Merrill Kelly has not been that bad lately. The three guys, I was going to mention Zach Thornton. I didn't realize Owen already picked him up. But Merrill Kelly, Pablo Sandoval. Does somebody actually have him? Or Patrick Sandoval. He is a free agent. God dang it. How do I get out of whatever? Oh my gosh. What did I do? There we go. Hit F11. He is going to pitch against the Athletics. They are very injured right now. So is it today? That's tomorrow. If you're trying to pick up a starter, I think Patrick Sandoval is pretty good. Pitchers. And we can look at a Savant. I don't think it'll tell us much. Hey, sample size, and I trust pitcher Savant's a little bit less, but he limits hard contact. He doesn't get ground balls or short stinks, but hey, XERI sort of likes him. He's a guy I'd be willing to take a flyer on. Mitch Keller, Merrill Kelly. These are all dudes. I would not do Reynaldo Lopez at Washington. Brandon Pfaadt, he could be a back-end bench streamer for you. Walker Buehler at San Francisco. He's had a rough go of it lately, but he had a bounce back start against Miami. Sproat at the Angels, not the worst thing in the world. Anthony K at Tampa Bay, I wouldn't do that. David Peterson against the Yankees, a little bit more risky, but if I really need to start, I wouldn't hate that. Liberatore at Toronto, especially, hey, pay attention if they sell anybody. They could do that. Ronel Blanco, I don't know anything about Ronel Blanco. Let's find out. He has not made very many starts, but he is getting banged up, even with the extension and the whiff and K. Holy cow. I mean, an almost 30% strikeout rate is crazy. But a 14% walk rate is equally ridiculous. Between them, he's only got a 13K per 9. Or K minus walk, which is below league average. I don't know. That's risky. Not my guys. Not my guy. Anybody on page 2 we should know about? Prelip at Seattle's probably not that bad. Manaya at Cleveland. Is that even in our Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? It's not even in our week. But maybe a 2-star pitcher for next week. Louder at Pittsburgh, probably don't do that one. Sugano at home against CAC, probably don't do that one. Luinder Avila at Colorado. If you're feeling like an absolutely insane person, do that. Tyler Phillips at New York Mets, probably not the worst thing. Phillips and Junk, I mean, I don't like them as much as some of the other options. Like I don't like them nearly as much as Mitch Keller or Merrill Kelly. Or they're probably on the level with Ronel Blanco. Maybe a little bit more. Sandoval, which is tomorrow against the Athletics, and then has a 2-start week next week, starting with the White Sox, who are pretty good. I don't know. But as far as guys I would consider permanently rostering here, basically all these guys are only as good as their next matchup. But dudes, if I was really in need of pitching that I would consider rostering, Merrill Kelly. I rostered him for 4 or 5 starts, and he did fine. He actually was good for me, and I found the right moment to drop him. Mitch Keller, same thing. Reynaldo Lopez, got to be careful with him. His velo is down, probably a shorter outing. The Braves, I mean, we're sort of scared of guys getting hurt. Fott is probably going to go deep, and he was a top prospect, but man, the guy has not had any success in the majors. The first official yes hitter I ever saw was thrown by Brandon Fott. Yeah, I mean, this just talk about no upside, man. When does Corbin Burns come back? Honestly, it's probably time to start considering stashing Corbin Burns. If you're looking at your pitching staff and you think, wow, this is going to suck in a month, pick up Corbin Burns. I know we got to do some prophylactic pickups. Jack Leiter, that's probably past our playoffs. Edward Cabrera, I know he sucked during the season, but hey, Spencer Strider, he's going to be reevaluated. July 18th. That was a week ago. He's got to be out for the season, dude. This is doom and gloom. Yeah. Well, I think I've just sort of talked and meandered enough in this episode. I'm really gonna close out there with the waiver wire segment. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed me sort of pontificating and giving some advice. Good luck and get some wins out there, fellas. Goodbye.